I ran across this article by J. Boyd Nicholson Sr., So Rich a Crown. I recorded it, but the digital voice had no emotions, so I thought I would read it to you. I hope you enjoy it like I did. He came out from God, a gift from the Father's heart, descending from the throne high and lifted up. He laid aside the garments of his majesty. The train of the robe of light filled the heaven sanctuary with its radiance. Stepping down from the infinities of uncreated light, he passed through the creature's realm of wondering angels, taking nothing of them. Still downward he came to one of the billions of his galaxies, which he himself had made. There his destination hung, a speck of sunlight, stardust, so insignificant among gigantic suns and island universes that only he could find it. For in the eternal purpose of love and grace, he had placed it there as a paradise for his creature, man. He arrived on the dark side of the planet, for it was night when he appeared. Yet that darkness must give way and bow to the influence of God. That night sky blazed with glory. A multitude of angels herald God's praise in the heavens and man's privilege and prospects on earth. Blessed creature indeed, all they of the human race. The Son of God had come to earth to bring heaven into their hearts, and then into heaven at last. Though fully well he knew the price his love would pay to make it so. When a story of the glory of God on earth, walking, working, weeping among his creatures, oh, how they would welcome this visitor of love and sweetness of this solitary world of tears and pain that man had made out of the paradise of God. Ah, sad and shameful is the record. He came, but there was no room for him. They wanted his bread in their mouth, but not his beneficial rule in their hearts. They wanted his healing power, but not his holy claims. They were filled with wonder and grace, but filled with wrath at his truth. At last their hated exceeded. They must find him and destroy him. His radiance has exposed their sin. Their insect consciousness scurried for cover. They mocked at his meekness and scorned his compassion for sinners. They had made their decision. The darkness they loved, and therefore the light must be extinguished. Gethsemane, so they found him in the garden of the oil press, on the dark side of the planet. In the night, he had prayed in agony till his sweat, like great drops of blood, fell to the ground. He had seen what none else but God could see. He had surveyed the place far off where none else but he would go. He bowed to the Father's will. He stood before the rebel mob, holiness personified. Love was his banner, and compassion was beating of his heart, even for those who hated him without a cause. His body bathed in sweat, and his anguish and the traitor's kiss still wet upon his cheek. They led him away to the judgment of men. Gukabetha, the soldiers gathered round and glean. A king they mocked. They anointed him, and they spat in his lovely face. A king, they gave him a robe, and they threw around his bleeding back a soldier's cloak. A king, they gave him a staff of authority, and they put a brittle reed into his hands. A king, they gave him a crown. They pressed a crown of thorns upon his bleeding brow. A king, then he must have a throne. And they took him to Golgotha. There they nailed him through, his hands and feet, to the only throne man ever gave him. Yet out of this race of sinners there have come by the millions from habitations of cruelty and homes of respectability, from hellholes of ignorance to the halls of learning. Still they came. His cross, his suffering love had won their hearts. His beauty had captured their affections. He is to them altogether lovely one. They are his, and he is theirs by eternal decree. Is it any wonder that by faith they gather round him week by week to show forth his death, remembering with sweetest sadness and giving of his body and the shedding of his precious blood, and looking forward till he comes. When I survey the wondrous cross on which the Prince of Glory died, my richest gain I count but loss, and pour contempt on all my pride. Forbid it, Lord, that I should boast, saved in the cross of Christ my God. All the vain things that charm me most, I sacrifice them to his blood. See from his head, his hands, his feet, sorrow and love flow mingled down. Did e'er such love and sorrow meet, or thorns compose so rich a crown? Were the whole realm of nature mine, that were an offering far too small. Love so amazing, so divine, demands my heart, my life, my all. Isaac Watts.